Welcome, welcome, welcome. As you're joining, hold on, let me make sure this is connected.
I'm a man of my word, I ain't never gonna flop. If I said it, then I meant it. Real ones gonna respect it, and it's still OG. It's in me, I represent it.
Mic check, mic check. Trying to make sure that y'all can hear me through this. Sometimes it doesn't always. Hold on. I think y'all can hear me through the mic. Let me turn off the fan. All right, all right. Testing, testing. It looks like we are good to go. It looks like we are good to go. Let me angle this real quick. Hey, yo! Hey, I promise I didn't do that on purpose. Hey, yo! Hey, yo! Make sure y'all like, subscribe. I'm over here putting my life on the line for y'all. Hold up. I gotta run that back on the TV. Hold up. I gotta see me falling real quick. Could y'all see me falling? Hold up. Went to sit down, my chair done moved. That's what you get for using rolling chairs. Hold on. See if y'all can look at it on here. Yeah. I overemphasized it putting the feet up. Hold up. All right, it's not that funny. It's not that funny. All right. Yeah, y'all saw me fall. It is what it is. Players mess up. See, that's what I get for making fun of MC Light the other day, laughing at 50, making fun of her falling at her concert. Yo, all right, that's gonna be some good content. We content everything. But yeah, welcome to the show. Make sure that y'all like, subscribe. I had to change up the intro music because they flagged me. They flagged me on a video maybe last week where I just got the alert where they flagged me saying that the instrumental that I used, that I was rapping these amazing bars on, they flagged me and said that I could no longer use it. So we adjusted. I may just have to license it out. My dad, hey, shout out to my parents. This is my dad. Dad, you don't ever comment. You don't ever comment, but you gonna comment on that. Shout out to my parents. Huge congratulations to my parents. They finally ended their house search today. I don't even know. I felt like I ended my house search, but they found a home. They're going to be in Jersey in a house. They've been in the apartment for a few years after selling the house, but they finally got back into a home. That's what they wanted. So, they're able to plant their garden. They were in an apartment, no balcony, beautiful apartment, but just no balcony. So I'm very happy for them. They'll be able to go out on their porch and get a lot of exercise walking up and down the stairs. So congratulations to my parents. Yeah. All right. Oh, hold on. Let me turn this back on. Get this back going. All right. So I had a great day today. I'm gonna tell you why I had a great day. I had a great day because I saw one of my big bros who I haven't talked to in a while down in Miami. And we had a much needed conversation. And it taught me a very valuable lesson. Well, I shouldn't say it taught me a lesson, but it reminded me of a very valuable lesson, which is perhaps very important when we're having a lot of these conversations. And I think I mentioned earlier, oh, my mom corrected me. She sent a text saying they were in an apartment for 6 years. So it's long overdue. But when I was having my conversation with my big bro, I was sitting there and I was reminded of how much I love his brother. I really was. And I'm not going to talk about the conversation, but I'm more so going to talk about the lesson and how we all can take heed to it and perhaps take some of these learning strategies that we learn or that we develop through having hard conversations where two people may not see eye to eye, and remind ourselves who that person is, what's on their heart, and what type of values and principles that person has, and just reminding yourself of who that person is to you and how you've seen and how they've shown up in many different ways. We're in a time right now where everything has become so radicalized that it's pushed us in so many different directions, and you can just see it. You can feel it. It's like, oh, we don't have the answer over here on this side. So there's either people that stay over there and just keep doing what hasn't been working, perhaps, or people that just move to what may be an extreme equal and opposite, some may say. And this is what the state of our politics is. And it's not only the state of our politics, it's the state of our culture. It's the state of our culture. When we're so much of an advanced society, and we talk about this all the time, where we still have to resolve problems with war, then that should just be a reflection of where we are. That should be the mirror. That's the mirror that we're holding up in front of our faces. And it's all of us. It's something that we all need to take responsibility for, because that mirror, whether we like what we're seeing in it or not, we are the reason why these things are playing out in society. It's our energy. It's the frequency that we're on. We claim that we don't like war, or we claim, I can't even say all of us claim that we don't want war, but we have gotten as far away from that golden rule of treating others the way that we want to be treated. And it seems to be impacting everybody in the worst way. And I wanted to touch on, before we get into this conversation with Nick Fuentes, I know on Monday, we were supposed to have a conversation about mental health. And I'm going to weave that into this conversation. Our mental health, and the way that we look at it, in my opinion, is suffering because we've commercialized it like every other treatment that we've commercialized. There's a reason why a lot of the medicines that we take, they treat the problem, but they never seem to cure the problems, right? Everything is about treatment. So we want you to never relieve yourself fully, cure yourself of that problem, but we want you to relieve you to the point where you get rid of your pain to a certain degree, where you can manage it. And why do you need to manage it? It's almost like anything that runs. If something just runs by itself, cool. But then when you add certain components to that system, whatever it may be, where you now have to have somebody manage it, what did it do? It just created a job for somebody. It just created a role. It created a necessity that was not necessarily there before. And that's what pharmaceuticals have done. That's what, I mean, when you look at everything from diabetes medicine, high blood pressure, now with Ozempic, everything is managing pain medicine, whether it's opioids or whether it's a shot. All these shots that people take, no matter what shots they are, they're temporary. They'll make you feel good. They'll make you feel as if you're cured, as if you're healed, without really being healed. So now who do you turn to? Now who's your savior when you're looking to relieve yourself of some pain? You're turning to that pain medicine doctor. You're no different than a junkie on the street, or whatever word you want to say. I hope that's not offensive, but you're no different than, let me say this, sorry. You're no different than an addict who's looking for that next hit. The impact of the medicine is just different. The impact of the drug is just different. So when all these different industries, and focusing back on mental health, when you look at it, it has nothing to do with your mind. And this book that I'm reading over here, The Power of Now, along with a bunch of other books, some which were written a while ago, they all focus on how our mind is one of the most damaging, disease-causing things that we have. We speak a lot of our problems into existence. We think a lot of our problems into existence. The things that we concentrate on most, that is the energy that we're putting out. And a lot of people may not think that this is actually true. A lot of people may not think, well, what you think and your perspective on things and having a positive outlook, that doesn't impact anything. Things are going to happen as they are. To each their own. To each their own. If that's the case, let me ask y'all this. If how you think about something didn't matter, what about the placebo experiments? What about the placebo experiments where they've done certain cases where we've talked about them plenty of times, where they have certain people that think they're taking the medicine. They have a control group, or however this works. I don't know whether it's the control. They got a group of people. Let's say they take 100 people. They give 50 people the medicine, and they give 50 people pills without the medicine. And what ends up happening? They recover at the same rate. They recover at the same rate because they told everybody that they're getting the medicine. So therefore, people program their minds to think like, oh yeah, I'm getting medicine. So their minds have accepted that they're getting medicine, and there are minds which pretty much are our directions, right? They control the rest of our body. They tell the rest of our body how to recover, how we're feeling, all these different things. Our minds are what set us free and heal us in that way. But think about the majority of us, where our minds go. Think about why they always try to propagandize us, why they try to create so much hatred and division, why they try to convince us when you go to the doctor, they're trying to scare you of, oh, you're pre-diabetic. Why would you even, knowing that these doctors are very intelligent, knowing that they've put out white papers on everything that I'm discussing. What I'm discussing is not a conspiracy theory. It has been scientifically proven. So if that's the case, why would doctors even come up with the term pre-diabetic, knowing that if you put that diabetic word there, somebody is more likely to bring that diabetes into fruition? So when it comes to the mental health aspect, is it mental health, or is it just that our souls are sick? And I want y'all to take a look at a few things. Take a look at a few things. I wasn't going to pull this up, but let's take a trip down ChatGPT lane real quick. I want to share this conversation with you. Do I already have it? I may already have it. Let's just type it. Hold on. Let's just type it up. Let me get the screen shared. We'll open up a new chat and we'll go from there. Hold on. Where are you? One second. Screen share window. All right. Take a look at this. Hold on. I don't like that. Me all small over there. There we go. All right. So take a look at this. I'm going to type in, what are the fundamental differences between the mind and the soul? Let's take a look. And I put a video out on this for all the people that follow me on Instagram. So we're going to lean into that video. Let's hear what ChatGPT has to say. This ChatGPT taking a little bit long to respond today. Let me make sure I got my network plugged in. All right. The fundamental differences between the mind. Well, without ChatGPT even telling us, what do you think when you hear the mind? Reasoning. I think of how we're always in our mind. Have you ever heard the concept of, yo, stop thinking? When you're out there playing basketball or playing whatever sport that you play or doing your job, are you at your best when you're thinking about it or when you're just flowing freely? And hold on, what is going on with this chat GBT? 1 second. Let's ask ChatGPT again. All right. So I want us to look at some differences between the mind and the soul. So we should have the mind first. All right. Oh, okay. Boom. This is actually very good. All right. So let me make sure you guys can see it. All right. Boom. Oh, I could have just looked behind me. So the mind. And the reason why I'm so opposed to us calling it even mental health, because what it seems like to me is that once again, we're solving a problem by presenting it with the problem. Like, we're not curing the problem. We're focusing on the mind. The whole problem is our mind. So we've been convinced that there's something wrong with our mind, and that's what's deemed mental health, when in all actuality, in my opinion, it has the mind is not the root of the problem. The mind is a result of our souls not being healthy, our souls being sick. When we look around the world of the things that are going on, all these different things, our souls are sick. So look at the mind, the seat of thoughts, reasoning, emotions, and memory. It is generally understood in psychology, neuroscience, and philosophy as an emergent property on the brain's activity. The brain. Let's look at the soul, often described as the immaterial, eternal essence of a person, their true self beyond physical existence. It's more of a spiritual or metaphysical concept than a scientific one. The seat of thoughts. What do our thoughts tend to do? What do our thoughts tend to reason? You ever hear of that saying where it's the devil on your shoulder? You'll have two sides. Where you ever heard the concept of whether you think you can or you can't, you're right? What do our minds tend to program us with, especially when we're living in a society with such negativity? Our minds tend to tell us, oh, well, watch out for that, or you may not be able to achieve that. Reasoning like, you're not very you're not likely to accomplish that. What do our minds tell us? Hey, just make sure that you go to work so you can make enough money. What do our souls tell us? We can't lie to our souls when it comes to how we feel about ourselves, when it comes to what is our purpose in life, when it comes to how we interact with other human beings, when it comes to our godly nature. That's what is poisoned in us. It's not a mental health issue. What is a mental health issue? And this is why I always have issues with, to each their own. If therapy works for you, go for it. But to me, it's a very limited solution. And I can't even say it's a full solution. It's, how can I describe it? It's putting a Band-Aid on something. It's putting a Band-Aid on something. Whether it's therapy or anything else, when we focus in our mind, it involves too much thinking. When we're in our mind, we're thinking about what happened in the past. We're anxious about what's going to happen in the future. Everything that I'm reading in that book right now is about being. It's about being and understanding. If we are just worried about the now and focusing on the now, then that will solve a lot of our problems, the anxiety, the depression from the past. Us embracing this victimhood, us telling ourselves that we're in a position. We are in a position that we are in now because of these other influences that were out of our control. I'm not doing well. I'm not making enough money because of these people. That's our mind. Rather than us accepting where we are, accepting the scenario that we're in, the cards that we were dealt, and us just moving forward with that. So let's keep going when it comes to this. Dependence on the body. And when have you felt you're most rewarded? Maybe I can summarize it this way. And we have an interesting video of, I don't know how I'm going to connect this, but with Jerry Jones and Denzel commenting on Jerry Jones. But let me ask you this. When have you felt your best? Is it when you make money Or is it when you just do something good for another person? I think the majority of us would agree that we feel the most rewarded, we feel the most fulfilled inside when we're doing something good for somebody else for no other reason than just because it's the right thing to do. That's what we wanted to do. Not because we're told to do it for a job, not because of any of these things. But we will focus more on making sure our bank accounts are filled rather than making sure that our purpose is fulfilled. And I'll be totally honest, I used to look at this a totally different way. I was the person that was running around saying, hey, money is everything. And if it isn't everything, then at least it can impact everything. It may not be everything, but it can impact everything. And the more and more that, I don't know, in this book, they would describe it as the more and more I become conscious, the more and more that I become aware, I see how we're interacting as humans. I see how we're allowing certain things to happen around the world and just justifying it for whatever reason. I realized very quickly that if you prioritize money in one aspect of your life, if you prioritize all of these things over purpose, if you prioritize all of these other things, you can make sense of pretty much anything for your own selfish and definitely financial interest. And you will have no checks and balance system when it comes to the purpose, because our soul is the checks and balance system. There's a reason why we can do negative things and make a lot of money, but still not feel good about ourselves, where something deep down is not, we just don't feel good about ourselves. But then we can do something and make no money, but feel amazing about ourselves. This is why we have a mental health crisis. Because we're telling people that they should feel good, that they should have good thoughts in their mind, when everything that we are observing on a day-to-day basis, from the time that we wake up and turn on Instagram, put on the news, go to work with other people who are miserable, then we're on our way home in traffic, road rage, all this stuff. We get home, we don't even have time and energy for our kids. We've been in the house all day. We've been at work all day. We haven't gotten any sunlight. We're sitting down all day, not working out, all these different things. There's a reason why we are not healthy. There's a reason why all these other things are impacting our mental health, our mind. We are sick. Let's go to dependence on body. And by the way, I haven't seen this makeup that ChatGPT just put out. What I got was a little bit different. So this is good. This is new for us both. So dependence on the body. The mind is tied to the physical brain. If the brain is damaged, the mind's functioning can be altered. Memory loss, mood changes. The soul is said to exist independently of the body, surviving physical death in many religions, many religious and philosophical traditions. Our souls are, I don't know if we would call it outside our body, but there's something there that's a little bit heavier, in my opinion, than just the mind. Now that, I guess, you see it however you see it. But let's go to functions. That's something I definitely want to tap into. So the mind, it deals with logic, deals with perception, imagination, decision-making, and processing sensory information. The soul is seen as the source of a moral compass, a spiritual connection, and one's deeper sense of identity or purpose. You tell me which one, when we look around at what's going on in the world, when you look around at most people, what are our intentions? We're going through the world in this rat race. We're not really living life. We're spending time at jobs that we can't stand. We're unhealthy, all the things that we talk about over and over. But the mind makes it from a logical, look at where it says logic. The mind makes it logical for us. Our minds are what have altered our perception to think that spending more time at work, building somebody else's dream with people that we can't stand, that's the right thing to do. Our mind, when it comes to imagination, our imagination becomes ruined. I always like to reference the Peter Pan movie. That Peter Pan movie is one of the most, it's still mind blowing when I watch Peter Pan and when I understand what I believe Peter Pan was trying to teach us. If you use your imagination to think powerful thoughts, what ends up happening? You can fly, you can soar, you're on an elevated frequency. If all you can think about is negative thoughts, you can't get off the ground. This is how our mind plays tricks on us. And people who know this, just like the mental health experts, the quote unquote experts, AKA the pharmaceutical industry, because what do they end up trying to do? Trying to prescribe you medicine when you have a mental health issue. They're not asking you, hey, you know what? Let me hear about your diet. Have you been working out? How's your soul been feeling? How do you feel in turn? No. They're asking a whole bunch of these other questions without even incorporating the other aspects. Everybody is obese and overweight. You don't think that's impacting people's mindset? You don't think that's causing a lot of these mental health issues? We've destroyed our imagination. Think about how we used to think about life. How excited we used to be when we're little kids waking up in the summertime just to go outside and do what? To dig in the ground, to get dirty. And then the older we grow, the more we supposedly grow mentally in all these ways, right? We get less and less excited about life. We appreciate things that we used to enjoy, things that we used to cherish. We appreciate them less and less. We appreciate people that we used to cherish less and less. The different interactions. A lot of us see it in our families. Let's go to the next one, imagination. And imagination is probably the thing, when you rob somebody of their imagination, it impacts us in so many ways. Maybe that's one of the reasons why we have to kill each other to resolve issues. Perhaps we just don't have the imagination to think of. We can have an imagination that sends us to space, right? We can put people in space. We can use our imagination. Why can we use our imagination for that? Because most of that is it's driven around greed. It's driven around power. So we'll lean into our imagination when it comes to making money, when it comes to seeking power in all these areas. But we won't use our imagination and come up with something creative enough to say, hey, maybe we shouldn't have nuclear weapons. Maybe we shouldn't just be killing thousands of people to resolve problems that are still going to be there afterwards. And we probably could have just resolved it in the same way that the countries end up coming together and just having a conversation. Why not do that in the beginning? The same way that we can have rules on war. How about having a rule that there is no war? But we have a lack of imagination, decision-making, processing sensory information. All of these things our mind determines. You ever have like a negative person in your life that things just tend to happen to that person where they're always complaining? Everything is seeing the glass half empty. I'm not getting any opportunities. And what type of things tend to happen to that person? And then we have other people where, hey, they just seem to just be walking on water. There's a reason for this. All right, so let's go to the soul, the function of the soul, seen as the moral compass. Just from that standpoint alone, what are we missing in our world right now? A moral compass. There is no moral compass. Everything is based on what do I need to do in order to, it's the law of the jungle. It's the law of the jungle. Well, I'm going to kill them before they kill me. I'm going to compete with them for these resources because there's not a lot of resources. So therefore, I'm going to take resources out of their pockets in order to feed me and mine. And that's what's justified. A spiritual connection. We lack a spiritual connection with each other. We go through life as if we are a completely different species. I saw this nature video the other day where a shark was helping a turtle. A shark was helping a sea turtle. A sea turtle had something wrapped around its neck. I wish I had the video handy. A shark had a sea turtle had a rope or something wrapped around its neck. I think it was an old fishing net. And the shark pushed the sea turtle on the boat. Now, I don't know if sharks and sea turtles can communicate. They're obviously a different species. We are the same species. and we can't communicate. Imagine if somebody was looking, imagine what the aliens are thinking. And they're, yeah, I'm being serious. When they're looking at us. And they're saying like, look, they don't even know how to communicate. They can't even speak to each other. Here, a shark can help a sea turtle. But look at us as human beings. We damn near won't even help our family members. And I'm included in that. Yeah. But different species who don't have anywhere close, I believe, to the cognitive brain function that we have, different species can work together. Who knows if animals have souls? I assume that animals have souls. So think about it from that standpoint. If a shark can help a sea turtle, and they have nowhere near the cognitive capability that we have, the mental that we have, perhaps we're in our minds a little bit too much because we don't even help our fellow species. Let's go to the next one. And one's deeper sense of identity or purpose. Have y'all ever been in a situation where you're working so hard on something, but you feel like it's so much of your purpose? This is why a lot of times they say from an entrepreneurial standpoint, to get into something that you're passionate about, solve a problem, create something that solves a problem that you're truly passionate about, because then you won't mind putting in the overtime with it. How many people do we see that are drained, not making a lot of money, but doing work that they actually have a deep sense of identity and purpose behind? It feeds their soul. And then we have other people that aren't working half as hard. They're drained, they're tired, they're not doing much, but they're making good money maybe. But their souls are hurting. They're starving. But we have a mental health crisis. It's not a mental health crisis. It's not a mental health crisis. Let me keep going. Let's look at in simple terms. In simple terms, the mind is like the software running on the hardware of the brain. The soul is more like the user, the conscious essence that can exist beyond that hardware, depending on your beliefs. Us thinking in our mind is so limited. Think about the things that we've talked about. Our imagination's limited when it comes to our mental. All of these different areas, our moral compasses, all these different areas, when we just focus on mind, are completely limited. If we want to elevate on a higher frequency, if we want to create a better world for our next generations, then we need to focus on our souls. What is our purpose? Is our purpose in life, and it's never too late. That's one thing that I want to emphasize. It's never too late. Is our purpose in life going to be like, oh, I worked to put food on the table? We can get so much more out of life than that. And not to say that it needs to be something extravagant. Maybe perhaps it needs to be, I enjoyed life with my family and bragging about how much time we spent out the week enjoying life with our family rather than just being at work. Living in our purpose, striving for our purpose, understanding that we all should even have a purpose in the first place. Because a lot of us are so limited, we don't even have a purpose. If we were to sit here and close our eyes and think about what is my purpose? What is my purpose? Now, some people pick professions that are very rewarding. You're helping people in their day-to-day lives. You may be helping kids. These are the rewarding things. These are the areas in which we need to focus on, in my opinion, rather than just figuring out where we can go to make the most money. I doubt that, and I'm a victim of the. I mean, I'm guilty of this too. When we're looking for a job, do we even care to even look at the mission statement of that company? The only reason why we would look at it is so we don't look like a fool if we're asked in an interview. But at what on our priority list when we're choosing a job, does purpose even come anywhere close to that? I believe we would have less divorces. I believe we'd have better relationships across the board, whether it's friendships or romantic relationships. And I'm not saying that we need to completely disregard the mind, even though at certain points, maybe we do need to completely turn off the mind. Maybe we would be better off if that was the case. But we put no emphasis on purpose. We put no emphasis on our souls. We put no emphasis on a lot of these things that are going to determine whether or not we feel good about ourselves. And a lot of people may say, well, I don't need to feel good about myself. And I've probably said that in the past as well. I don't need to feel good about myself. I need to just make money. Well, something that I'm learning, and it's been being taught for a very long time. I don't know if any of y'all have ever read the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I haven't read it in years, but one thing that I can say is that how we think determines in a lot of ways the money and the finances that we attract to ourselves. So if we're thinking on a positive frequency, based on the limited research that I've done, we're going to attract more positive things. If we're focusing on, we can literally heal our bodies. We already went over the placebo example. So when somebody asks you, how you're feeling, how you're doing, maybe focus on the positive aspects of how you're feeling rather than focusing on the negative. And then maybe that will align us with more favorable results moving forward. All right. And one of the reasons why I wanted to even talk about this is because it seems like we're in a crisis. When we have, I don't know if a lot of y'all saw the thumbnail, but when we have certain people like a Nick Fuentes, who is getting a lot of traction as a leader in our country, whether you like him or not really concerned with that right now. But when we have a guy like Nick Fuentes, we have to ask ourselves, how did this person become a leader that we want to follow? Perhaps a lot of us asked ourselves this when Trump started running for the first time and got a lot of traction. How did we get to a point where the majority of the country, or a large portion of the country, is looking to this person that I cannot stand? I don't believe they have moral compass, all these different things that you may say. How did we get here? How did we get here? So let me get to either, I don't know whether, let's get to this Nick Fuentes video, because I want to have a conversation with him, because I believe, even though I see things getting better and I want to focus on the positive, perhaps things do still need to get a whole lot worse for us to realize that this isn't the direction that we need to go in. Perhaps things need to get more radicalized. Or perhaps God will just do what the books say that he did before and choose to just flood the planet again. There are scriptures, matter of fact, there's scriptures in the Bible that talk about the peacemakers, that tell us how we're supposed to live a life. And for so many of us in this country to embrace that Bible and to embrace Christianity or Catholicism, whatever you describe it as, or whatever religion it is that you practice, for so many of us to practice these religions that, in my opinion, focus on our souls more than our minds, we're doing a very good job of ignoring it. All right, so let's get to this Nick Fuentes video. Hold on. All right, so now for a lot of y'all who aren't familiar with Nick Fuentes, I actually mentioned him maybe a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about Candace Owens, and he did a show with Candace Owens. Nick Fuentes is known as a racist. He doesn't call himself a racist. What does he say? He says he's racy, or I forget what he says. It doesn't even matter to me. It doesn't even matter to me. What I'm more concerned about is how did we get here? Because whether it's Nick Fuentes, whether it's somebody else, clearly a lot of these situations that happen, like a Shiloh Hendricks situation, where Shiloh Hendricks can call a little boy the N-word and then start a GoFundMe and get almost, what did she almost get, like $1 million? That's a response to something. When we can see the Carmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf situation where a teenage boy is stabbed by another teenage boy at a track meet, and we feel as adults we need to pick sides, we have a problem. And it's a problem that if we continue to ignore, we're going to have certain reactions that are more and more radical, whether it's that situation or any other situation that comes up, where we're picking sides, where we all just can't sit back and say, like, yo, yeah, like George Floyd, like, yo, we need to, like, you know, like, or I hate to even use the George Floyd situation, but let's just stick with the Austin Metcalf and Carmelo Anthony situation and just say, like, yo, this is a terrible, terrible situation. Terrible instance. We don't have to sit here and say, nah, Austin Metcalf, he deserved that because they were trying to bully Carmelo Anthony and he didn't want to stand for it anymore. And we've been targeted and oppressed in this country for so long. And on the other side, we don't have to sit here and say whatever else that people may be saying, you know, calling Carmelo. I don't know. I don't know. I guess I would more so, the other side would be more so like on the Shiloh Hendricks situation where we're now celebrating people who are calling little boys the N-word. But let's get into this Nick Fuentes video. And the reason why I said I don't know when it comes to the Austin Metcalf situation, I want to be clear. I'm not running away from that, but just being totally honest, when I'm looking at that situation, it's totally unfortunate. But based on the information that I have now, and I don't see this changing drastically, but I'm open to it. Carmelo Anthony, there was no excuse for what he did. No justification for what he did. If you feel like you're getting bullied, go tell somebody. If we live in a world where we think that somebody getting bullied, where it's a justifiable response to something, to go stab that person at a track meet, then are we surprised about anything else that happens in this world? How could we be? All right, let's take a look at this video. Let's take a look at this. Let me share this. Make sure y'all are liking and subscribing, of course, liking and subscribing. So this is a video. I believe we're going to watch the one from Patrick Bet David and Valuetainment. They do a good job of covering everything. Is this the one? No, this is not the one that I want to watch. Hold on. They went through the... Oh, wait. I'm not going to take up too much of your time. We'll just get to the one with Patrick Bet David. So pretty much Nick Fuentes, lately he went on the show with Candace, and a lot of these people, he's been banned on pretty much every platform. He's banned even from, like, I think banking, where nobody will accept him banking, all these different things. So there's been like Elon Musk going at him, Tucker Carlson going at him, Candace Owens, and a lot of these people that I'm naming, you all have probably heard me say favorable things about in the past. Now, criticizing them at other times, but saying favorable things about these people. I tend to like these people. But in my opinion, the reason why they're now going at him is because he's using the medicine that they used to use on other people, the strategy that they used to use on other people, in calling other people out, whether it's Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Charlie Kirk. And now he's responding in a way where he's calling them out, and they don't like it, and he's bringing receipts with it. So let's look at this conversation. He actually, so Tucker, you'll see, he exposed Tucker Carlson. I'll be totally honest. He exposed Tucker Carlson for lying. Let's get to this video. All right.
What? So this is what?
This is Tucker with Candace Owens, where they talk about Tucker finding out that his father was part of the CIA.
Oh, okay. Go for it. Play this clip.
The only reason I know who he is.
Oh, sorry, I have it on double
That's
speed.
my boy, Rob. That's how we
We
roll.
can do that, but Rob just
The only reason I know who he is because someone sent me a video a few years ago of him attacking me. And I was like, so I'm looking at this. And I'm like, well, first of all, this kid's really talented, like legit. And I can assess that just having done the job for so long. So I was like, wow, lots of talent, native talent. And he's attacking my dad as a CIA, his dad's in the CIA or whatever. And I'm like, well, that's no, untrue. Then my father dies, and I learn actually, was involved in that world. I was completely shocked by it. So no one has to believe me, but that's just a fact.
Right.
This was in March of this year. And I'm like, well, how the hell would this child from Chicago, my dad was 84 when he passed. Like, who does this guy know who my dad is? And like, he's in intelligence. How would he know that? And
Wait, so that was his critique of you? Because I didn't see it. It was like,
someone just sent me this video and it was like, you can't believe anything Carlson says because his father was in the CIA and he's a CIA working on behalf of the CIA. Well, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious, and I actually feel emotional in my anger towards CIA. And I think that comes out on the air quite regularly.
Right.
And so the idea that I'm working for the CIA is like deranged.
Well, if it helps, he said I'm funded by Russia now. Since the interview, he then did a thing and said I was funded by Russia.
But you would be
okay.
a lot more likely to take Russian money than I would be to work for the CIA, because you would never take Russian money, and you're not Russian.
Did he just say what I think?
Yeah,
Go back 5 seconds.
I mean, that's
Go
like
back
CIA,
what?
you would never take Russian
Go
money.
back no more.
go
Rob,
back
Rob.
10
Not
seconds,
Russian,
Rob.
but
Okay.
a lot
I can't front. When I was actually watching this interview, I thought the same thing. I was like, wait, what did Tucker just say?
more likely to take Russian money than I would be to work for the CIA. 'Cause you would never take Russian
He's
money.
so
and
funny.
But you're
not
saying
Russian,
that you'd
but-
be you over me.
But I mean, I really hate the CIA, and I mean,
Right.
I mean, that's like very offensive to me. So why would you?
It's like personal for you.
Well, a little bit.
Yeah.
And anyway, like, who is this kid exactly?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's just an accident that the guy exclusively goes after people who are in the same.
You know what he does? And this is why, in my opinion, we have to be very careful about excusing certain things and ignoring certain things that violate our moral compass. But we excuse it because we convince ourselves it's for the greater good. Perhaps I did this in the election with Trump in certain ways. I'm still not sure yet. I'll keep y'all posted. Now, what I mean by this is the same conversation that when Nick Fuentes had with Candace Owens. And Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes was sitting there saying, like, yeah, black people, I think, have a lower IQ. Like, just look at Africa. Black people have never created a language, a written language, nothing. They haven't done. And Candace Owens had such a huge blind spot when it came to black history. Now, Candace Owens, somebody that criticizes black people a lot. I criticize black people a lot in black culture. But if Nick Fuentes said that to me, I would have responded very easily. First off, you're acting, because Nick Fuentes was like, yeah, we're talking about black people, so sub-Saharan Africa, not Northern Africa. Candace Owens couldn't even respond and say, hold up, bro, the only reason why people are lighter skinned now in the region was because a lot of ways, like Egypt with the Arab slave trade. Do you not remember the Moors and the influence of the black Moors in Europe, ruling Europe for a very long time, hundreds of years? He addresses people's blind spots, and we all have blind spots. We all have blind spots, but they impact us in a lot of different ways. And when we're not constantly trying to learn and trying to grow and trying to understand different perspectives, we're going to have a lot of these blind spots. Let's keep going with this. I just wanted that's just something that came up in my mind where, you have somebody like Candace Owens who's so smart, but then she's having a conversation with somebody and she just had no idea of the advancements that black people made throughout Africa and even in Europe. That to me was it showed her blind spot. And I think what he does in a lot of ways is he scratches at people's blind spot. In an interview with Candace Owens, she started asking him about why he's not married, why he's not this. And he just came out and said, like, yo, I don't even think like it's in your place as a woman to be asking me like why. That was the energy that he came back with. And he pretty much called out Candace Owens. And what a lot of people did after that is, Candace Owens, you claim to be this feminine woman. You claim to want conservative values and women. You convince other women to want to stay at home and just be housewives. And you brag about how you make your husband sandwiches and all this other stuff. But meanwhile, you're doing a very popular podcast that she tries to downplay recently and say, oh, I'm just podcasting in my basement. No, you're a working woman. You work extremely hard. You're passionate about things, and there's nothing wrong with that. But he was calling her out, and that conversation was calling her out for perhaps being a bit contradicting. Now with Tucker Carlson, we're going to see how he called out Tucker Carlson on this. You just heard Tucker Carlson say that he found out when Tucker Carlson's dad passed, that's when he found out that his dad was in the CIA. Let's fast forward a little bit. Well, let me see exactly where this point is where he calls him out for lying on it.
Okay, you can pause it at that point. So this is what? This is the and what is this, Rob?
So this is Tucker Carlson, even though the whole basis of this conversation is that Nick Fuentes was criticizing Tucker Carlson for his father's ties to the CIA. In that clip, Tucker Carlson says he found out that his father was in the CIA when his father died in March of this year. But here's a clip from the Sean Ryan show in 2024 where Tucker talks about his father being part of the CIA. So there's no way that he found out in June of 2024, made those comments in June of 2024, but then just found out in March.
Let me see this.
And so when I applied to CIA, and I've taken a lot of crap, including from Putin, like, oh, you're from a CIA family. Well, yeah, obviously my father worked in conjunction with CIA. I mean, that's what that is. Wow. And I tried to join the CIA, but hold on. About it.
My bad. I see me on the bottom of the screen. Give me a second. I'm gonna move to the other side because y'all can't see the date. So remember, he said that I'll let Rob explain it again.
Ties to the CIA. Conversation is that Nick Fuentes was criticizing Tucker Carlson for his father's ties to the CIA. In that clip, Tucker Carlson says he found out that his father was in the CIA when his father died in March of this year. But here's a clip from the Sean Ryan show in 2024 where Tucker talks about his father being part of the CIA. So there's no way that he found out in June of 2024, made those comments in June of 2024, but then just found out in March.
Let me see this.
Of 2025.
And so when I applied to CIA, and I've taken a lot of crap, including from Putin, like, oh, you're from a CIA family. Well, yeah, obviously my father worked in conjunction with CIA. I mean, that's what that is. Wow. And I tried to join the CIA, but I'm not being false about it. Native talent.
And then here's a clip of Nick Fuentes talking about Tucker Carlson after that clip went public.
I'm being accused of being the CIA by Peter Thiel's best boys, by Tucker Carlson with his daddy. Tucker Carlson's, and you know what? Here's the other thing. Tucker Carlson said I'm a weird gay kid in the basement. Yeah, and I'm from Chicago. You're right. Well, okay, you're not right about all of that. But I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. Tucker Carlson says, I have so many trust funds, I never have to work. Tucker went to a $45,000 per year private high school, then a $45,000 per year selective Ivy League school in New England. Tucker Carlson's daddy was a Reagan appointee. And then, after years of bragging about being an elite, bragging about being so out of touch and so rich, now he's going to be the spokesperson for all the white people. Now he's going to roll up his sleeves. I just like to hunt and fish in my log cabin. I care about Klarna and credit card debt. But then when it comes to me, I'm one of the real disaffected white people. You want to talk about me and them? I am them. He says Nick Fuentes is leading all of the disaffected young white men. I am a disaffected young white man.
I'll be totally honest with you. And Jason Whitlock actually put up something about this where he was talking about one of his nephews that reached out and sent him, Jason Whitlock, Black, his nephew Black, sent him a clip of Nick Fuentes and was like, what do you think about this? The same way that Candace Owens was calling out black people and a lot of black people were saying like, yo, this is true. It's starting to happen with Nick Fuentes. where people are starting, a lot of the younger black population, for the same things that he says that would completely turn off perhaps our generation of parents, because it's completely politically incorrect to even suggest that black people have a limited IQ. That's what he suggested when it came to Candace Owens. But people can either be upset, and this is what ends up happening. When he says something like black people have a limited IQ, what do you think most black people do? Get pissed off, write him off, call him a racist, whatever, right? But then when you actually look at how we perform, let's look at black Americans. Or are we just blaming everything on slavery? When you look at how we perform, when you look at our culture, perhaps it makes sense for somebody who's not in the culture to be looking at it like, yeah, they move kind of dumb. There's a lack of intelligence here. Matter of fact, the only time when these people ever took education seriously is when we took it away from them. So really all we had to do was make it available to them. And then look what they did. They don't even prioritize it anymore. These people are so silly. Look what they do. Here they have unity. Here they have their own shopping. They have their own communities, own economies with Black Wall Streets all over America. And because they think our ice is colder than their ice, people that don't want to do business with them, people that don't want them frequenting their stores, people that don't want their money, they're begging. We want to be able to shop at your stores. We want to be able to eat at your restaurants. The same restaurants that don't want us in there, yeah, we're going to fight to eat there. But then when we study other cultures, like the Jewish culture, what's the top quality in Jewish culture? Their unity. They work together. That's not a negative. Matter of fact, outside of Americans, Black and white Americans, probably, everybody does that. Whether you're a Russian, whether you're Indian, whether you're Nigerian, whatever it is, you tend to unite and work with your group of people. But what have Black Americans done? We fought to disunite, right? Desegregation sounded amazing until we realized that all that meant is that in our economy, right? Same thing with the Negro Leagues. We always give the example of the Negro Leagues. I want to play in the Major League Baseball. I want to play in the major leagues. The Negro Leagues is a better business than the major leagues. But you're scratching and clawing because you got FOMO, fear that you're missing out, and you're intoxicated with the grass being greener on the other side, thinking that you're less than, because you've been convinced from a mental standpoint, using religion, using a whole bunch of other tactics, that you are less than these other group of people. So now you're always trying to prove yourself to them at your own expense. So therefore you run over there to the major leagues and you destroy the Negro Leagues. Does that sound very intelligent to y'all? And to be totally honest, a guy like Nick Fuentes, what's happening is people don't care. The younger generations are not growing up getting triggered and bothered by the same things that used to trigger our parents. We kind of just, and I say we, it's really different with the young ones, but it's like, so what? I don't care if Nick Fuentes is racist. I really don't care. Let me say, it's hard for me to say I do care that he's racist. Let me take that back. It's hard for me to say I don't care when I just did a whole segment on the mind and how we need to focus on the soul, right? So I do care. But what I care more than that is in identifying why people are turning to him. And it's the lack of leadership. We have no leaders. We have no honorable leaders. Let's just look at the Democrats and the Republicans. Looking at Trump, one of the most popular lines that he had, I think it was in a debate with Hillary, or maybe I think it was a debate with Hillary, when he said, what do Black people have to lose? You've been voting Democrat this entire time. Things are only getting worse. What do you have to lose? This is what happens when you neglect growing as a leader and serving the community that you're supposed to serve, or that you say that you're going to serve. people look other ways, and they look other ways in more radical directions in a lot of cases. And then what ends up happening, now we just play the game of radicals. Oh, that group got more radical, this group got more radical. And what ends up happening to the people that are in the middle trying to work together? We just become separated more and more. And when we separate more and more, it allows the people on each side of us to extend their radicalness more and more along the spectrum. So now we'll turn to leaders like Nick Fuentes. Charlie Kirk, he's another one. Charlie Kirk, I don't know if you've seen the interview with Charlie Kirk did a while ago with Gavin Newsom. Charlie Kirk had no problem whatsoever calling out Gavin Newsom standing on certain things with California and all this. But just being totally honest, and this is one of Nick Fuentes' biggest criticism with Charlie Kirk, is that he claims that he's America first, but a lot of his stances, this is what, Nick Fuentes says, are Israel first. You're prioritizing Israel. You don't have that same energy of America first. You have it in any other scenario, but when it comes to Israel, it completely goes out the window. And you think we should help Israel. And this is what I mean when I say Nick Fuentes, he's poking at and clawing at and exposing not only the blind spots, but the sore spots for a lot of the people, whether it's Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Charlie Kirk. And because he's doing this exposing in a way where he's not making decisions based on what group he needs to serve at that particular time, people are drawn to him. So because we've become accustomed with all these fake and phony leaders, let's say, for instance, I'll just give you my example. In the Democratic Party, I went from, well, I'm just not going to vote, to no, I'm voting for Trump. I'm standing on it. Now, I told y'all, I may end up regretting that. And based on what happens with Israel, Palestine, and more Israel, Palestine, but even Ukraine and Russia, that's going to play a significant role in what decision or what conclusion I end up coming to. But all of the people that, instead of criticizing the Trumps, instead of criticizing the Nick Fuentes, I don't need to criticize the Nick Fuentes. What I'm focusing on is, where are our leaders? Who are our leaders? Let's keep going. Let's keep going.
I was a precocious, intelligent, young white college student who went to Boston University, who was pro-Trump and red-pilled by Trump and animated by Trump's message of America first. And I asked questions about Israel, and I was punished for it. I did it years before Tucker Carlson started talking about Israel last year. And I sacrificed, and I was targeted by the ADL, by the SPLC, by the federal government, by the conservative movement that both Candace and Tucker were a part of. Candace and Tucker had nothing to say about Israel until it became unavoidable last year. Not popular, but unavoidable. And now they want to gatekeep me out and do this personality attack and say I'm a bitter loser in my basement from Chicago.
You can pause this. So what do you know about this? And then, by the way, is this in conjunction with the Laura Loomer stuff that you're talking about?
I'm going to leave it there.
I didn't.
I don't really need to. There's a reason why people are turning in his direction. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying I'm turning in his direction. I don't look at Nick Fuentes for any type of leadership. I don't need to look at him for any type of leadership. But I will 100% hear what he's saying. I'd be a fool to ignore what he's saying. I'm wondering why, when he put out a live stream, think about it like this. His live stream, when Israel, I think, first bombed Iran, got like something like 55,000 people live watching him. That's a college football stadium, bigger than an NFL stadium. Well, some NFL stadiums are that big. Then when he did his stream, when America dropped the bomb on Iran, he had 70,000 people watching him. How does Nick Fuentes, how does that person right there, now let me be very clear, he's very talented. He is very talented, very direct, a very direct communicator. and from my understanding, very honest. The things that I disagree with on him, I just think that he's wrong. But he seems to be very honest. Matter of fact, I would I'm more when I watched the interview with him and Candace Owens, I was just more disappointed in Candace Owens because I'm like, damn, Candace, you didn't even if you give him the facts, it's hard for him to dispute that. He gave you a direct question and said, well, it seems like to me, black people's, IQ, when you look around, it seems pretty limited. They never created their own written language. There's no history of it. They've never invented anything. And all this stuff, Candace is just sitting there. I'm like, damn, Candace, you don't know of any black inventors? You don't know of any black civilizations? That you didn't know that the Egyptians were black people? Now, Nick Fuentes clearly, or I would think, didn't know it. I don't think that he just would bring that up knowing that it was, that it wasn't true what he was saying, but I think he was just wrong. I don't think that he was lying. And I think what he does is exactly what Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Charlie Kirk, and a lot of these other people used to do. They used to expose people's lies. Not where they're wrong necessarily. Anybody can be wrong, but exposing people's contradictions, exposing how people say this in this area, but then apply different principles and morals in another situation. And that's what he's doing to them. And they can't handle it. They can't handle it. So like it or not, that's where the leadership is going. That's where the leadership is going. That's how a lot of people feel. When we feel that we can continue trying to, whether it's pushing DEI, every action has a response. Every action has a response. So when we think that, and this is why, even when he says black people have a lower IQ, damn, I'm looking at it like, yo, why would somebody think like, damn, is that what they're thinking about us? Like, okay, let's actually think about it. Think about how hard black people, we fight for DEI. Black people will run through a wall trying to justify DEI, why we need DEI. And the entire time, when you look at the numbers, it's not even benefiting us in the top 5. It's like white women, disabled people, gay people, like it's a whole bunch of other people that come before black people, but black people are always the people frontlining fights that benefit them the least. While everybody else who it benefits the most, they do it in the name of it benefiting black people, with the perception of it benefiting black people, while they just sit back and collect the benefits. That just doesn't seem very intelligent. Now, I don't think it's an intelligence thing. I think it's our leadership selling us out. I think it's us being so caught up in culture. Now that you can look at as an intelligence thing, I guess. But see, I think any group of people can get swayed in different ways by using different techniques. I don't think it's very easy to manipulate the masses. It's very easy to manipulate people. I think it's more of a cowardly standpoint that a lot of our people in leadership, we end up taking certain deals that benefit us as individuals, even though they harm the greater population. That's what I think ends up happening. So we'll have a Barack Obama. We don't think Barack Obama knows some of these policies that they put in play. We don't think that Barack Obama understands that when you have all these social programs for poor people and you continue to give them something that's not incentivizing them to get out of their current situation, that's just going to make them be more comfortable in their situation, kicking back, collecting, whether it's unemployment, whether it's assistance in the home, whether it's food stamps, all these different things. You don't think that Barack Obama understands that from a mindset that if you want to teach a kid, if you want to feed a kid, teach him how to fish, don't just keep giving him scraps? You don't think he understands that? But he doesn't care. Perfect example of me not thinking that it's an intelligence standpoint, him just having the audacity in a lot of ways, and us not having the courage, our leaders not having the courage. When Barack Obama sat up there in Flint, Michigan, when they were having the water crisis, and he took a fake sip of water, and it was so obvious, just to convince the little babies in the community and everybody else in the community to drink that water, to shower in that water, and that it's clean. For what? He knew damn well that that water wasn't clean. But perhaps he also knew that all he had to do go up there, and he had so much power and so much manipulation over the black population that it didn't matter. He wasn't making decisions based on principles, morals and values. He was making decisions based on his own greed, what was best for the Democratic Party at the time. And that's who he has prioritized. So what do people end up doing? They end up getting pissed off at Barack Obama, getting pissed off at all these phony leaders that don't have a backbone, and they end up being more open to hearing out Nick Fuentes than any other leader. What lead? Let me ask y'all a question. Who's the leader? Who are the leaders in the Democratic Party? Is there a male leader in the Democratic Party? Do we have to go with Bernie Sanders? How old is Bernie Sanders? And we're actually getting ready to watch a video on him, but we're going to wrap this up soon. But is that Gavin Newsom? Who are the leaders? You're telling me you can't find just a solid, principled person to come across as honest, to be very clear and direct in communicating his agenda, how he plans on carrying out his agenda, or her? We don't have any of that? You're telling me that the best that we can offer, or the best that the Democrats can offer, is Kamala Harris? Hillary Clinton even? I mean, somebody who's from a intelligence standpoint, probably totally different than Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris was just lacking in a few different areas. She was just lacking. And I tell you what, she going back to Nick Fuentes' point, it doesn't serve us well. DEI does not serve us well. When we force DEI on people, what ends up happening? You develop more people like Nick Fuentes who feel like they've had opportunities taken from them. You get Kamala Harris to get elected as vice president because black people like Charlemagne told Joe Biden, hey, well, we only going to support you if you bring on a black woman as your VP. Not the best candidate as your VP, not the person that can accomplish these key agenda items that we want addressed in the community. No, we just want a black woman. So now when you get her as VP, the plan worked. Now we can just shoo her in as president, a presidential candidate. Somebody who had no business running for president, in my opinion. I'm going to show you an example of, and I don't even know if this is just more just to laugh at for the end of the show, but just another reason why people like Nick Fuentes and his line of communication is becoming so popular. See, with the political correctness getting thrown out the window, perhaps with Donald Trump play, where people don't have to communicate. It's so funny. Have y'all ever watched, what's the guy on, I think it's ABC, David Muir? Let me show y'all this. Let me show y'all this real quick. Hold on. Let me show y'all this. I saw this thumbnail the other day of David Muir, however you pronounce his name. Look at this. Hold on, let me make it bigger. Look at how he's sitting. Look at everything. This is how our parents are used to having somebody have to look like they're giving us news. It's phony, it's orchestrated, it's politically correct BS that nobody wants to hear. And now that we have access to YouTube, TikTok, and all these other platforms that can give us direct communication, straightforward answers, whether we like them or not, whether they make us angry or sad or whatever it is, we want to hear that. We do not want to see David Muir up here like this, delivering the news. It's squarish. We don't want to hear that. It's phony. It's BS. It's lies. It's not working anymore. It's not working anymore. Look at this. Look at this show from. Look at this exchange, and Megyn Kelly's about to. She's going to address this lady, Drew Barrymore. I remember we showed Drew Barrymore and her interview with Mamala. Remember when she was talking about Kamala Harris? The country, we really need a Kamala right now. Like it is disgusting to watch this type of communication, but this is what a lot of people eat up. Just take a look at this.
Barrymore, this is again on the podcast, and listen to what she said in SOT 28.
You have a lot of bravado about what you think is the truth or not, but it's just so refreshing. Like you were doing this before it was so dangerous.
Still dangerous.
And it is just way too dangerous now, but you're still doing it.
It's slightly less dangerous than it was 2 years ago because we did have a vibe change. And because the Democrats lost so badly in 2024, the blush is off the rose on left-wing censorship and, oh my God, you can't say that. Stop telling me what I can do, what I can say, what I can think, who my heroes are supposed to be. Just get the fuck off of me.
Okay, so he's saying what he's always said, to his credit. He's been very consistent. But there you have Drew Barrymore. Drew Barrymore talking about how it's still too dangerous to speak out with your real opinions. So what?
And this is why people are attracted to Nick Fuentes, to Andrew Tate, all these people who they try to cancel. Instead of canceling these people, how about you just open the floor for people who can actually have real conversations with them, or people that can be an alternative that we actually can relate to. Instead of trying to cancel Nick Fuentes, you're only making him bigger. When all of y'all criticize him, when you got Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk, Elon Musk, and Tucker Carlson criticizing and trying to silence Nick Fuentes, what do we think ends up happening? You're just making him bigger and bigger. You're exposing him to people that had no idea even about him, and you're making yourself look foolish doing it, because the tactics that you're using to try to cancel them are the same tactics that you've criticized other people in the past for trying to cancel the people that you've aligned with.
What are her real opinions? Because just like Jimmy Kimmel and Sarah Silverman, she's been fueling the fire of wokeism for years. Who could forget how she humiliated herself next to fake, quote unquote, woman, meaning a man, Dylan Mulvaney, who came on her show and was treated like Jesus?
Not an exaggeration.
To meet you. I really am. This is, it's very personal for me in a world where we're all trying to figure out who we're supposed to be. The risk, the bravery, where do you find the strength to keep being the joy?
Well, I think having my chosen family and the people that I love to take care of me. It's interesting because I look at someone like you and I can't imagine anybody disliking you.
Oh, please. Do you want to know, ironically,
she's on her knees,
who dislikes me the most sometimes?
Who?
Myself.
Oh, me too.
Oh my
God. But
this is what attracts people. Like, this is what people want to see. And we sit and wonder why these people that...
Oh, they're hugging.
I guess
on their knees.
You've asked me now, you've asked
these audiences, who are the audiences for this type of nonsense? The people that watch this, the people that like this, they're the ones that are going to sit there and tell you, oh, well, it's just about time that a black woman becomes president, even though she ain't black, whatever. Okay, whatever. It's just about time that a black woman becomes president, so we'll just rock with Kamala. Rather than, no, I don't care who, no, we need to have the best candidate. Forget all that imagery. We've been falling victim to imagery for too long. Let's actually have a candidate that's worth supporting.
me, like what I would do to combat the hate, right?
Yeah.
But what do you do?
Still on their knees.
Okay, that's a great question. Now, I
You've
started
been doing it a
cross-legged.
little longer than I have.
Another thing that you're making me realize is to not.
We were talking about mental health earlier. we've got a mental health crisis, right? According to a lot of experts, we got a mental health crisis. This is why I say it's not a mental health issue. It's our souls are sick. Drew Barrymore, her soul is sick. See, Dylan Mulvaney, I don't even want to make it just about Dylan Mulvaney, but anybody that's growing up and thinking that they're a different sex, especially the kids. When it comes to the kids, I feel very bad and I'm upset. I'm upset because we've created a culture that encourages this as if it's normal behavior, but then we'll categorize any and everything else as a mental health disorder. This person's a narcissist, they're depressed, they got this, they're schizophrenic, they're all these things. But somebody who feels that they want to chop off their penis and become a different sex, you can't even question whether it's a mental health disorder. This is the BS world that we've lived in, that we are currently living in, that Drew Barrymore continues to feed into. She's doing this for money. She's doing this because this is the side that she's on with the Democratic Party and the liberals, and she can't offend certain people. She's doing this for money. She's doing this for her career. She's doing this for personal gains at the expense of all of us combined, destroying an entire generation of kids, perhaps. Where in California, your parents can't even have power over, like, it's, the teachers don't even have to tell the parents of kids that Bobby came to school as Bobby, but at school, Bobby's being called, I don't know, what's a B name? Jessica. Couldn't think of a B name. And teachers don't have to tell the parents. This is the world that we live in, but then they'll flip it or massage it and manipulate us into thinking, well, it's more so we're just looking out for the safety of the kids. We've played video upon video of, I remember we played one, I forget where this clinic was. It was a clinic that did sex changing surgery. Now, you were supposed to go through this entire process, and somebody exposed them where they called the clinic, and the clinic pretty much was getting ready to do a sex change as openly as we just perform abortions or get the abortion pill. About to do a sex change, you're cutting off somebody's private parts. And not once do you question their mental health.
Not carry on in spite of others.
I'm sorry, I just realized that I'm sitting on the floor with Drew.
I'm so happy to be doing this. Thank you for joining me on the floor.
This person is sick. They are confused. I don't know if Dylan Mulvaney is doing this for money. I don't know. This is not right that we're condoning this. And I'm not saying it because, I don't care what people are. But what you're doing is like you're encouraging people, you're encouraging kids that, hey, it's okay. If you don't feel like a boy, like, kids change their mind. Imagine how many times we change our minds on certain things. We change our minds on relationships all the time. Something that we can be completely all in. This is going to be my wife. I'm 14, 15 years old, and I'm like, this is going to be the only girl that I'm ever with. You go through a breakup at 14 and 15, you feel like your life is over. So imagine a kid with limited cognitive function applying that same limited cognitive function to them just not feeling like they're a boy today or feeling like they're a girl today.
Floor always feels safer.
It feels nice.
Oh my God, there's so much wrong with that clip.
We'll fast forward to the one with Kamala Harris.
Things about you, but it's for it. Floor.
We'll fast forward to the where they highlight the one with Kamala Harris. This interview. This was the one that we reviewed. It's just I don't get it. I don't get how does Drew Barrymore have a show? How does she have an audience acting like this? I couldn't imagine anybody seeing what she just did with Dylan Mulvaney and being like, what? Like, why is she like, is she acting? Like, what is going on here?
And she would have said how she really felt. You continuously vote for the party and the people who push that bullshit on us. You, madam, are complicit. You hosted Kamala Harris, who says, we all need to be woke. We need to be woke because we just do. That's your person who you actually had on your program and wanted us to call Mamala.
I keep thinking in my head that we all need a mom. I've been thinking that we really all need a tremendous hug in the world right now.
Yeah.
But in our country, we need you to be Mamala of the country.
The country needs a father. The world needs a father. I'm just being honest and giving my feedback. We need both. We need the balance. Yes, I get all that stuff, but it's overly emotional and it's overly feminine and it's overly leaning in that area. So we need a father. We need a father to come establish some principles, some morals, some values, some integrity. A father who's going to stand on certain principles and not just prioritize what's best for them as individuals, but a true leader. It's just my opinion, though. Somebody that's going to create. We need a father who's going to create. And I hate saying that we just need a father, but y'all get what I'm saying, where we need that energy of a father. That's what I'm trying to say, all right? I'm trying to do better at making the information as absorbable as possible. And this is what I've tried to do. I try to grow all the time in how I'm communicating, because I don't care about being right. I don't care on, well, I'm standing on it because it's right and I say it however I want it to be as absorbable as possible. So therefore we can have dialogue on it, and where I'm not just turning people off to where they become more radicalized in a different way. No, but it's like, come on now. We've been pushing this feminine stuff on us for how long? For how much longer do we need to push this feminine stuff where we prioritize the mom, we celebrate the mom, we completely disregard the impact of a father, and then we look around and wonder why the world is what it is, why America is what it is, and how we got here?
No, we don't.
Thank you. Thank you for clapping.
Shaking her head, yes.
And as a woman who respects so much and wants to share and wants to be confident and has no ounce of me that has competitiveness, when we lift each other up, we all rise.
That's exactly right.
Oh my gosh.
That's right.
Did you just see her turn to the audience? I'll be totally honest. I may not think Kamala Harris is qualified to be president, but Kamala Harris is probably cool to chill with. She seems like a cool chick, I'll be honest. I think she was just in over her head. I think she was compromised like most Democratic candidates, and from my perspective, just like I've been calling out, and don't say I don't call it both ways, because every single political show over the last 2 months, all I've been doing is calling out Trump. I just think she was in over her head. But I'm sure Kamala Harris is sitting there looking at her like, yo, what is this silly bee talking about? Like, that's what she's probably saying. And I don't mean to be disrespectful by saying that, but come on now. Like, she's saying, what is this silly woman talking about? Is that better? Okay.
That's right. That's right.
However, we need a great protector.
When we lift each other up, we all rise with the mouth quivering, just like the hideous to Dylan.
If we're not intentional with choosing our leaders, we're going to end up with leaders that perhaps we're questioning how people are even following them. If we're not being intentional with our leaders, we're going to get more and more Nick Fuentes. And it's probably only going to get worse because think about it. You listen to Andrew Tate. Think about what they tried to do to Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate is nowhere near close to where Nick Fuentes is on the spectrum. I don't mean literally like on the spectrum, like I'm not talking about autism on the spectrum. I'm saying on the spectrum of extremes. Andrew Tate is nowhere near where Nick Fuentes is. But look what happens. You try to silence the truth that a lot of Andrew Tate is speaking on. You try to, and rightfully so, maybe call him out for his past. Everybody should stand on their past. Cool. But what ends up happening? I believe Andrew Tate was speaking things that were a lot more relatable than a Nick Fuentes. But now Nick Fuentes, we are creating the monsters. When we choose to keep getting these subpar leaders that are not what our souls need, our politics need, our culture needs, anything needs, then we're going to have people that run in the direction of a Nick Fuentes. That's just my opinion. So let's be more intentional. Now, what can we do, right? That's what it always boils down to. Well, hey, I can't control the leaders. I can't control this. What can we control? We can control who we support. We can control, and that's across the board, not just with a vote. We can control the people that we watch, the businesses that we support. We can control just the information that we seek. Let's learn a little bit more. Let's understand things. Let's remove the emotion and let's actually think about like, damn, how is Nick Fuentes the same person that suggested or said that he's racist, or, you know, he used I think he used racy or I forget what he used. The same person that said that black people have a lower IQ than other people. Maybe we should ask ourselves, why are black people even open to hearing this person out, even entertaining what he's saying? But those same black people don't want to hear a damn thing that Kamala Harris is saying, or Barack Obama is saying, or Hakeem Jeffries, or Jamal Bowman. Why is that? Those are the questions that I want us to ask. And that's how we can not just call out the problem, but focus on things that we can do from a practical standpoint to get closer to a solution that makes sense for everybody. That's going to give us proper perspective so we're not radicalized as much. So therefore, we're just leaning into whoever we feel is the lesser of two evils. And I got to take this advice as well. I have to take this advice as well. So what we do on the end of every show, and I think we have a bunch of new people in here. So shout out to Luccaroni, shout out to Phil McCracken. Appreciate y'all. Whoever, Rupert Fellows said something earlier. We had Rupert Fellows was like, the brain is the piano and the mind is the piano player. That was to our earlier conversation on mental health. Liquid Dream wrote, Nick pepper sprayed. Oh, this I got to confirm this. Liquid Dream said that it's actually true. I've never heard of this, but apparently Nick pepper sprayed a black woman, I think that's what BW means, and pushed her down the stairs, then had her arrested for threatening him. He was paranoid. I said, I've never heard that. Liquid Dream said, yes, Nick Fuentes had people from online arguing with him, and the black woman wanted to visit his home and create her own video. So that seems a little bit visiting my home. And I don't know. I asked Liquid Dream to send me the link. I don't think the link was ever sent to me. So take that with a grain of salt. I'm just reading the comments. Phil McCracken wrote, like it or not, Nick speaks facts. Like it or not, I may not like what he's saying. And to the point earlier, him speaking facts, he may be wrong about certain things, but I don't think that he's lying. Let's see. Luccaroni wrote, The amount of actually speaking to actual power is at an all-time low. So Nick can talk crazy until a more polite but true speaker arrives. This is what I'm saying. If you want to have somebody who's as polite as Barack, cool, no problem. I'll listen to that. But Barack is a BSer. He's a BSer. I'm tired of y'all putting these Democratic liberal leaders that are just BSers. I don't want to hear. Do you think I want to hear from Gavin Newsom? Even people that vote Democrat don't think Gavin Newsom is a truthful person. Everything about him everything is just completely phony, staged. It just seems like he's an actor. So, MWSX wrote, good. Hope he continues to be pushed mainstream. Kellen had a comment as well. So appreciate y'all all for tapping in. So this is what we do at the end of every show. For those that are new, this is the most important part of the show. And even if this is something that you don't typically do, that probably makes it more important for you to do it. So at the end of every show, we take 45 seconds at least to meditate, manifest, just be still in our thoughts, or just completely remove our thoughts. We've talked a lot about the mind and how it can impact us. And one of the things that I'm really focusing on is not allowing my mind to dictate my spirit, right? Not allowing my mind to dictate my spirit. So I'm very big on us just giving ourselves and having that time with ourselves to do what be very intentional about removing the negative energy. So that's why we say every exhale, we're getting rid of the negative energy. We're feeling that breath go out as the negative goes out. And every inhale, we're inhaling positive. Just try it. All right. A lot of y'all have never meditated in your life. A lot of y'all have never closed your eyes and just be still for 45 seconds. So, you know, what do you have to, like Donald Trump says, what do you have to lose? What do you have to lose? So one more comment. MWSX wrote, in addition, Nick's had people show up with guns to his house multiple times, threatening to kill him. Not surprised. He's on the cautious side. That's a fact. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because when I do see Nick Fuentes, like even when I saw him at the Turning Point event, I didn't see him physically, but I saw a video of him. It seems like he's a very cautious and fearful person. And even when you hear his interview with Candace Owens, you can tell like he's not coming across like an Andrew Tate, where it's like, yo, like it's just a different energy, where a lot of times he does seem fearful of certain things. And I'm sure he should be, based on a lot of the hate that comes his way. Now, he may bring about some of that hate, but, you know, it's still hate, you know. And when I say bring about some of that hate, I'm not justifying any of it. You know, there's certain things that I say, you know, there's certain things that we all say that we know, even though it may be what we 100% feel, it can bring about a certain energy. So he does seem very guarded and on his toes when I see him. So take it how you want to take it. All right, so let's do 45 seconds. Like I said, every exhale, we're exhaling the negative energy. Every inhale, we're inhaling the positive. So eventually, by the time we finish our 45 seconds, we'll be just circulating positive energy, positive air. At the beginning of every week, what we do is on our Monday show is we set out to make this our greatest week ever. Maybe you want to focus on that. Maybe you want to focus on that. And hold on real quick before MWSX, I can't leave y'all alone. When y'all comment, I can't help but get to the comments. So let me just read this and then we'll start our 45 seconds immediately. He honestly should be fearful. Some of the things he says are provoking and just meant to upset people online for engagement. For example, when he said, "Your body, my choice," is a crude joke for TikTok. That's a fact. That's a fact. So let's take our 45 seconds. Let's begin that right now, a little woosah, so we can get to bed and not focus on all this negative energy, and we could just have positive energy circulating in our dreams and in our frequency. All right, ready, begin. All right, we'll do one last inhale, and then we're exhaling the last bit of negative energy. and now we're just working on the positive. If you saw me smiling during that, it's because I was laughing at how the show started when I fell. Yeah, we're gonna have some fun with that one. Maybe I'll definitely show that on Friday. So, yo, appreciate y'all. Make sure that y'all like, subscribe if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, or if you've already subscribed, please make sure that you turn your notifications on. I would say y'all know what we come here to do, but some of y'all may be new. So in case you are new, this is what we come here to do. We come here to elevate on purpose. That's with a big P, all right? We're elevating on purpose. So on purpose and focused on our purpose, all right? So that's from an intentional standpoint, raising our standards in every aspect of our life, challenging ourselves to become the best leaders we can become. Because what? Because they're needed now more than ever. That's what this entire show has been about, how we can choose the right leaders and how we can become the leaders, right? Because we're all influencing somebody. We're all influencing somebody. So perhaps when we become the leaders that we need to become ourselves, then it'll attract us to the right leaders and the right leadership qualities in others as well. So, and not only raising our standards for that. See, y'all almost made me forget. Raising our standards to become the individuals that we need to grow into in order to accomplish these audacious goals. So if you're new, we swing for the fences around here. We swing for the fences. We believe that we can achieve anything. There's no limitations. However, we're very realistic about understanding the sacrifice, the discipline, the focus that it's going to take in order to accomplish those goals. All right. So strength and honor, onward and upward. We finish off the show all the time with saying, get to that bag. Now, so for a lot of y'all newcomers, y'all may not know what I'm saying when I say get to that bag. What do I mean by get to that bag? All the things that we're doing throughout the hour, throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, throughout the year, those things that we can sometimes perceive as the little things, but add up to those big things, the steps along the process are key performance indicators, the things that are making sure that we're in proper alignment with our purpose as we strive for purposeful abundance. And a lot of the ways that, we talked earlier about some people not even knowing what our purpose is. Why is our purpose so important? All right. We're all going to make an impact on this world. We like to call it our personal legend. Shout out to The Alchemist, or The Alchemy. I think that's the name of the book, right? That's The Alchemy, right? The Alchemist, I'm sorry. And Santiago, that's what he calls it, his personal legend. So what's the impact that we're going to make on the world? Think about that impact, and then you back into it and figure out what are the steps that are going to take in order to align with that impact and make sure that you're on an efficient trajectory in order to living in that purpose and making those things happen. So the things that I focus on in my bag: peace, love, happiness, health, wealth, and integrity. And what I added on last show is balance. All right, let's have some more balanced approach to everything. A more balanced approach. Damani said total Groiper victory. Nick for president. Yo, I'll be totally honest, Damani. He's on a trajectory. Hold on, just so y'all are aware. Maybe to give y'all a little bit of urgency. I hate to scare y'all, but Nick Fuentes, let me look up his age. He's only 26 years old. This young man was born in 1998. So, and you cannot deny the talent that he has. Even his biggest ops and critics don't deny that. But let me let y'all go. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Y'all continue to tap in. We'll be back on Friday a.m. at 8. Friday at 8 a.m. I'll see y'all soon. All right. Over and out.